At first glance, the three YouTube channels may look completely normal. However, as it turns out, the creators behind them all have a disturbing background. Let's look into them. The first channel we'll be looking at is named Ator 2011. A quick glance at the channel doesn't reveal anything out of the ordinary. All we can see is that a channel is owned by a man who records some of his life activities, such as him playing the guitar, some dancing clips, and other homestyle videos. You wouldn't really expect too much from this channel, and it was assumed that he just made these videos just for fun. However, it's not necessarily the content that's the problem, it's actually the creator who has a disturbing backstory. The man behind the channel is named Cyril Ramos Nogueira Filho, a 55-year-old Brazilian actor, dancer, film and theater producer. However, he wouldn't be known for any of these roles in his life, but instead, he was a child and pedophile. On July 25, 2017, Cyril Ramos was arrested in his apartment in Sao Paulo for obtaining and sharing child explicit content. His house would be raided by the federal police after they launched Operation Glasnost, which was a program that looked for information from a Russian website about criminals who either produced or shared child content. The website operated as a social networking site for erotic content for teenagers and children. Upon investigation, Cyril Ramos was caught producing a high amount of activity on the site. One of these examples included writing tutorials on how to get away with children using fake emails and names. It was later determined that Cyril had possession of 987 videos and 29,608 photos of child explicit content on his devices. He even shared one of his videos on his website that contained footage of a 3-year-old boy. The boy featured in a music video created by Cyril was the name of the video being titled My Little Princess in Training, A New Life of a Sissy Toddler Boy. The video involved Cyril the boy and forcing him to wear women's clothing. This seemed to be some fetish or liking for Cyril, since even looking at his profile picture, he can be seen wearing women's clothing. Authorities were thankfully able to obtain all this information, and Cyril was put into question. When they asked him who the 3-year-old boy was, he identified him by stating that he was being under his care in the absence of his parents. Not only that, but officers were also able to obtain numerous printed photos of other children hanging on his wall in his room. One of these children were later identified as another boy who was again raised by Cyril. What makes this even more concerning is that Cyril was committing all these crimes even though he had 2 children of his own. The children were then asked if Cyril had done anything bad to them, in which they both denied. When brought into court, Cyril denied the accusations against him and claimed that some of the files found on his devices belonged to a tenant, and that some of the images on the computer were used by him to attract pedophiles, which he would then supposedly report later to the authorities. As an act of desperation, Cyril's defendant claimed that he was mentally insane. Thankfully, the judge rightfully sentenced him to 95 years and 2 months in prison for his crimes. The 3-year-old victim in his music video had to undergo severe psychological counseling, and sadly there's been no updates surrounding his well-being. This channel is dedicated towards a man named Alex Dean who recorded and uploaded his bodybuilding progress. This included videos such as his workouts, daily thoughts and plans, motivational thoughts, and some eating videos. Nothing out of the ordinary, especially for a bodybuilding account on YouTube. But as we look further more into his mindset and what he was feeling during this time of his life, we learned that Alex Dean was struggling.
This is my plan A. You know, the store and everything and bodybuilding. But you always gotta have plan B. But my plan B does not look pretty.
Alex's supporters at the time even noticed this, as a couple of them commented expressing their concerns about him. Alex would brush these concerns away and insisted that he was doing alright. He continued on with making more bodybuilding videos, but would abruptly stop uploading videos on July 21st, 2017. This was strange at the time considering how motivated Alex seemed just a couple videos earlier. Little did everyone know though, Alex wasn't posting anymore for a sinister reason. A day after his last YouTube upload, Alex posted videos on his Facebook account and other social media accounts regarding his desire to end his own life. At the time, he just got out of a relationship with his former girlfriend, Maylee's the Scamps. Alex still had feelings for her, and in hopes that she would come back to him, he believed that his announcement would somehow convince her to be his girlfriend again. Once she ignored his request, he began to stalk her. Just 3 days after his announcement, Maylise found herself having to hide from Alexander in her mother's house after she believed he managed to break into it. As an act of fear, she ran out of the house and decided to hide in one of the bushes. All while this was happening, she was recording everything and even managed to call her grandparents to come rescue her. Alex was deeply angry and began to shout at her. In the recording, he could be heard stating, "I'm doing it. I did it yesterday and I'll do it again today." At the time, no one knew what he was referring to, and it was just believed that he was just saying random nonsense. Unfortunately, he was referring to a prior killing he committed just a day earlier. The person he murdered was a man named Yaron, an amateur photographer who supposedly did a photo shoot for Maylise. Alex took this the wrong way and would wait outside his house for hours before Yaron arrived. Shortly after, Alex would murder him. Alex was quickly found responsible for his crimes, and he later admitted that he went inside her room and checked her devices to make sure that she wasn't talking to another man. Keep in mind they were already broken up at this point, and it just seemed that he was overly obsessed with her. Maylise's grandparents had just arrived at her house, but were quickly captured by Alex, as he then held all 3 of them hostage in his living room. It was at this point Alex showed them a picture of Yaron's dead body, and stated that they would be next if they didn't cooperate. As a final act, Alex explained to Maylise's grandparents that he would be the perfect man for her, and that he could do no harm. While this was all happening, Maylise's mother was repeatedly calling her, and was worried about her since she hadn't responded. She then called the police and told them where she was staying so that they could do a wellness check on her. When they arrived, Alex panicked and immediately stabbed all 3 of them to death before the police could enter the house. He fled the scene and managed to escape for a short time, until authorities were able to find him at a supermarket just under 24 hours later. For his actions, Alexander Dean was sentenced to life in prison. Angelisho Betts just seemed like your typical abandoned YouTube channel that consisted of someone randomly posting videos with no true aspirations. In this case, this channel consisted of 2 Fortnite song cover videos, and another one was presumably the creator's dog. The channel has been inactive for 5 years now, and there's been no real explanation as to why the creator decided to abandon it, until a true reason was found.
Cosas cotidianas de la escuela, ¿no? La verdad es que nunca había habido como que algún
Angelisho Betts, or better known as his real name, Jose Adriel Ramos Betts, was the 11-year-old boy responsible for the Colegio Cervantes shooting in Torreon, Coahuila, on January 10, 2020. Jose Betts, who was armed with a .22 and .44 caliber, would open fire at his private school, Colegio Cervantes. At around 8:20 a.m. that day, Jose asked his teacher, Maria Medina, if he could use the washroom. She allowed him to do so, but things started to worry her as he was taking longer than expected. It should be noted that prior to leaving the classroom, Jose told one of his classmates beside him saying, "Today is the day." Without context, the child had no idea what he meant and simply just ignored him. Due to her concern, Maria went back to look around for him. Around 20 minutes later at 8:40 a.m., Jose left the bathroom and was armed with 2 different guns. Before firing at those nearby him, he shouted, "Hoy va a ser el día," which translates to, "Today will be the day," which is the same thing he said to the previous student back in class. Jose then opened fire at those nearby him, which included a gym teacher, 5 other students, and his English teacher, Maria Medina. Just right after, Jose panicked and truly realized what he had done. It was at this moment he decided to end his own life, and so he shot himself in the face. The entire tragedy took place during a 3-minute time period. Miraculously, the 5 students and gym teacher managed to survive, but sadly, Maria died instantly. Shortly after, strict restrictions and guidelines were put in immediate effect to prevent another disaster from occurring again. Mexico's president at the time established a school safety program known as the Mochila Segura. The purpose of the program is to ensure that no student is carrying anything in their bag that can cause harm to others. While there are many aspects to be covered surrounding Jose and his actions, one of the most discussed things was the clothing he was wearing. Reports stated that he was wearing a white shirt that said Natural Selection on it. He also had suspenders and black pants. It was stated by Miguel that he believed that the shirt was in reference to a video game Jose often played that was named Natural Selection. Despite him heavily believing in it, it was quickly shut down by many others, as they believed that the phrase natural selection It was more likely in reference to what Eric Harris wore during the Columbine High School massacre. He then admitted to his mistakes and changed his point of view in a statement. In order to understand more of Jose's actions, and what possibly led him to commit such a horrible crime, even more investigation was sought regarding his background and those surrounding him. At a young age, Jose's mother had passed away undergoing cosmetic surgery. For a portion of his early childhood, Jose's father, who also was named Jose, had spent time in prison for trafficking meth in El Paso, Texas. During this time, Jose was living with his paternal grandparents, but as even more research surrounding his family structure and environment, we also learned that they probably weren't the best option to take care of him either. Jose's grandfather, who is also named Jose, had a record of drug trafficking and fraud. It got to the point where his grandfather had his bank account frozen due to irregular money transfers involving millions of dollars with both Jose's father and grandfather. Investigators finally decided that Jose's grandfather could have some possible connections in regarding to the shooting. He was taken to the Torreon Social Rehabilitation Center while a search was done on his phone at home. Investigators looked for any clues surrounding his involvement. It didn't take that long for them to stumble upon a handful of messages he had with his daughter about the shooting just right after it. As it turned out, he illegally obtained the guns as they were exclusively only available for the Mexican army. And to make matters even worse, he let Jose use the weapons despite him knowing his bad intentions. In one of the texts between his daughter and him, his daughter wrote, "¿Por qué se la diste, papá? Ve lo que pasa? Cuando lo vio, no me sorprende. Sabe que fuiste tú quien se la dio." To which he replied by saying, "No podía detenerle. Fue su voluntad." For his actions, he was arrested and charged with homicide by neglect, and leaving guns where a child could easily access them. It's been nearly 5 years since the shooting, and there's been a ton of safety measures put forward to ensure everyone at school can be safe. But in order for these procedures to go through, there was a bit of controversy. Esteban Moctezuma, the Secretary of Education, didn't directly oppose the idea of backpack inspections. However, he insisted that it should be the parents' job should do in-home backpack inspections before they entered the school. When the bag operation was created in 2017, school staff members were the ones who did the inspection. There were a ton of complaints from members of the school district, and even parents didn't like it, as they believed it shouldn't be a national program, as it went against the rights to privacy of the students. What was suggested instead was to reinforce the physiological area of school, generate space for safe dialogue, and more parental guidance in the development of their children. However, due to the shooting, these heavy reinforcements, despite whether or not people like them, have been put into place. If you made it to this point of the video, I just want to thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me. Alright, I'm going to keep the outro short, but as some of you may know, or may have noticed, new background, I've finally decided to record videos in my room. For the past like 4.5 years I've been making videos. I've always recorded in my basement, but now I decided, why not record in my room? So this is gonna be the permanent spot now, and it's really cozy. I really like it. But yeah, as always, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you watching have a great rest of your day. But before you leave, don't leave yet, I have to tell you something very important. I just want to let you know I truly mean that, and I truly hope you, yes you, the person watching right now, I truly hope you do have a great rest of your day, and as always, thank you for being here. Alright, I'm gonna go now, but I'll see you guys very soon. Goodbye for now.